Good to see a good crowd here today. That's fantastic. Today, this is Padmasambhava here. And I'll be giving a talk about Padmasambhava and one of his texts, which is called the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Some of you may have heard of. There is another one called Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, but they're not by the same person. This is the original one. And there have been many copies. This is the complete translation, and this is one which I picked up in 1994 on King's Ransom. I understand the word of sang so the mythology is as you emerge from a lotus flower in the middle of the lake in India around the 8th century. And it was recognized for Tibetans as being the second in his time. So once the idea of the Buddhas had settled into the world, a character came along who took it to another level in esoteric terms, in just some of the ideas he came up with, which you will be hearing. It's quite a thing for me to be trying the historical Udayana, which is on the Pakistan border, Pakistan-Kashmiri border. And he's best known for bringing Buddhism to and giving us what we now know as Vajrayana Buddhism, which means with the diamond vehicle. And Vajrayana Buddhism incorporates both Theravada Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, and Vajrayana Buddhism. And one of the things about Vajrayana Buddhism is the previous types, they would talk about enlightenment within many, many lifetimes, like innumerable lifetimes. And with Vajrayana Buddhism, they say you can do it in one. And one part of what you can do it is when you die. There's opportunities, really very strong opportunities to attain enlightenment when you die. So this is where we're going. So at the time when Padmasambhava didn't actually spend very much time in Tibet, but he came up with these things called term treasures. And he didn't think that was right to introduce them to the people of Tibet, so he hid them around Tibet. And then when the time was right, one of his reincarnated disciples, would find some kind of sign which would relate to these termas or hidden treasures. And once they found them, it was a bit like they would be able to write out the whole text. It would be like a channeling Padmasambhava. So, for instance, the person who translated this, he doesn't get the credit. Padmasambhava gets the credit, even though he wrote it down. So it's all getting it's all quite out there. Sometimes people think Buddhism, of Theravada Buddhism, people's introduction to Buddhism can often seem quite place, almost like a psychology practice or something. But with Padmasambhava is a lot stranger than that. A lot of intuition involved. It's a lot. It's not a good mix of logic and wisdom and intuition. And he made quite a few. He made some predictions, and one of them, which I'm not going to read out the whole one, was when iron birds fly and iron horses run on roads, the Dharma will come to the west. And rather intriguingly, the first, even though this came out in Tibet in I think it was the 12th century, the first translations came out in 1927. So this came out in 1927, and immediately sort of captured people's imagination. Carl Jung was particularly influenced by it. And later, Aldous Huxley was very into it, and it became a big part of 60s counterculture. I think the Beatles certainly did. John Lennon wrote a song about it. It's quite interesting. So in 1927, this book came to light. And what this book does is introduce the concept of what happens when we die, and what we should do when we're dead. It also gives us guidance on how to train ourselves so that we can live well in this life, in preparation to die well, and ultimately to gain enlightenment. And it does this through those visionary spaces where there's an opportunity for spiritual growth to exist. And the 6 bardos are the bardo of life, the bardo of dreams, the bardo of meditation, the bardo of the moment of death, the bardo of reality, and the bardo of rebirth. Now, as the last one, which is rebirth, the one which comes out of the bardo of life. So this is a cyclical thing that's going round and round within these bardos. So I'll probably start with the bardo of the moment of death. So the book, we call the book the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The real name is actually Bardo, which means liberation through hearing during the intermediate state. Now the hearing bit is important, because what happens as you're on your deathbed is that your spiritual teacher or lama or dharma brother or sister will be guiding you through the text. Will be guiding you through this book about what to expect now that you're at the moment of death. So they'll be telling you to be calm and not to be afraid, telling you that this is all just an emanation of your mind, which at this time may be very confused. All this, of course, would be a new experience, because nobody remembers dying before. Once you are dead, you might not even realise you're dead. It's interestingly enough, and the teacher will remind you that you are. One by one, all of your senses will start to close down, so that you'll have no sensory consciousness anymore, and the mundane mind will be no more. Everything which made up our egoic mind, hopes and dreams and possessions, likes and dislikes, will all be gone. And then at the moment of death, suddenly, for just a flash, an instant, one experience what is called the clear light of reality, the Dharmakaya. And most people will just drag and carry. It's like they go, oh my God, this will be completely awesome experience. It's like it's just showing you the reality. It will strip you bare of your experiences of ego experience, and you will just be held to. You will have no. If you don't have any understanding, it will just terrify you. You'll shrink away. Well, some people won't even notice it. It's actually most people it's just a click like that. It's just an experience. Some people here may have experienced something a little bit similar. We have experiences where things just seem so strange, and we fall back from it before, and then we go, "Oh no, I wish I'd sort of help with that." Is it? But an experienced practitioners, as I said, may have encountered these experiences in their lifetime. So instead of pulling back, they'll understand it more. They'll experience it as the one mind or the Buddha mind, even as at the same time as it is everybody's mind. They'll experience it as this one thing, the ultimate reality, the ultimate mind of the universe, and even welcome it like a good friend. They'll feel its embrace and go into it. And if you do that, you'll become enlightened. Simple as that. But most likely, for most of us, we will just black out. I'll just give a reading from the book so you can hear what it's the kind of language which is being used. And get probably a better sense of what this idea is. O child of Buddha nature, when your mind and body separate, the pure luminous apparitions of reality itself will arise, subtle and clear, radiant and dazzling, naturally bright and awesome, shimmering like a mirage on the summer plain. Do not fear them. Do not be terrified. Do not be awed. They are the natural luminosity of your own actual reality. Therefore, recognize them as they are. And then I'll just read this extra bit which is coming up for the next bardo. So basically you swoon or faint after you get the bright light of reality, and you'll come to, and you'll realise you've got a subtle body. You'll be told by this is the Lama, what I'm reading now, talking to you. On the first day of the intermediate state of reality, all space will arise as a blue light. You can maybe, this is an indication, this is the Dhammadhatu. At the same time, from the central Buddha field called pervasive seminal point, the transcendent law of the Vairocana will dawn upon you. His body white in colour, seated on a lion throne, holding in his right hand an 8-spoke wheel and embraced by his consort, White Tara. A blue luminosity, radiant and clear, bright and dazzling, indicative of the pristine cognition of reality's expanse, which is the natural purity of your aggregate of consciousness, will emanate from the heart of Vairocana, his consort. It will shine piercingly before you at the level of your heart with such brilliance that your eyes cannot bear it. Together with the bright luminosity, a dull light indicative of the realms of the gods will dawn directly before you and touch your heart. So maybe it gives you an idea of what is going on. So now we're in the bardo of reality, which is where we meet Virochana, which I was just reading out. You're experiencing a subtle body, which feels very much like a real body. It's more like a body you would have in a dream. You can see your own corpse, and you can see your relatives, your weeping relatives, but you do not realize you're dead. You have to be reminded by the Lama. He tells you that you must move on. The dead person now experiences a whole series of visions of lights, rainbow effects. Absolutely beautiful. Sort of an archetypal dreamlike state. They will see peaceful and rockful deities, strange lights and visions for 14 successive days. These are psycho-spiritual figures in the form of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Psycho-spiritual because they're experienced mentally, and psycho-spiritual because their significance goes far beyond that of the ordinary conscious mind, or even the personal unconscious. As I was reading there, on the first day, the whole universe is a beautiful deep blue. And in its centre, the figure of Virochana has appeared as a dazzling white illumination, embraced by its consort, Vaitara, which symbolises what is known as the wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu, or the wisdom of the ultimate reality. And as I said, from his heart again, this brilliant, dazzling light appears, which again most of us will shy away from. And even though the teacher is telling us not to be afraid and telling us that it is our own mind, our own luminous mind, the mind of true reality. And as I was mentioning, that text said, at the same time a dull light appears, which is emanating from the God realms on the wheel of law, which most of us will instinctively be drawn towards because it's comforting and reminds us of what things we were doing in our life. The teacher implores us not to follow the dull light, but go to the brilliant light. It is an expression of your innate mind, the one mind, the true mind. So one goes to the brilliant light and gains liberation. Or in terror, we go to the dull light and we go back to the wheel of life, the cyclic existences. So this process goes on for 5 more days, and you meet all these Buddhas each day, and you meet another different type of dull lights on each day, and each of those days you get a chance to become enlightened. And you can choose between liberation or going back to real existence, going towards the dull lights. During this state when you're meeting these Buddhas, your mind is in an incredibly subtle form. You will never experience this most of the time in real life. So there is a real possibility of going to those bright lights and understanding that this is all in your mind. This is your mind, the one mind, an emanation of the one mind. Then for the next 8 days, you meet the wrathful deities. And this is what happens because, as I said, your mind is in a heightened state, but over these next days, it sort of bumps down to our present state of mind, this more neurotic sort of thing we tend to live with, our reactive minds. So suddenly the visions start going from being beautiful and reassuring, become terrifying. So you can get into this terrifying place, be completely bewildered as reactive mind proliferates nightmarish visions. But if one remembers still that this is an animation of the one mind, you will gain liberation. It is not. We proceed to the bardo of rebirth. So we find ourselves in the bardo of terrified in the bardo of rebirth, trying to hide from our reactive mind's fears. Everything feels solid and real. Liberation is still possible, but the vessels will see and be drawn to their future parents. They will enter the womb, swoon, and be reborn, remembering nothing. So this brings us to the life, which is what and in this life, so in all these bardos, we have an opportunity to become enlightened in this life. We still have to wait to die before we would go into parinirvana and join that bright light. But if we became enlightened in this life, we would recognize that light straight away, which we did that, it would be, oh, okay, that sort of thing was enjoying. So in this life, we can get a taste for it. And it's an opportunity to leave our reactive minds and become more discerning, more creative, less reactive. In life, and in life, events occur in this world, and the senses might suggest a greater beauty might be revealed to us, often in times of difficulty, like a death in the family or something. Maybe a burden is such that we surrender, and then a kind of loving kindness, a contentment arises, and we can never see the world in the same light. And as a result, we orientate ourselves towards that vision and try to attain it more regularly. In some ways, in this life, we can understand this metaphor of the bright lights is, in a way, it's like experiences when we become extremely mindful, loving and kind, and we may feel that this connection, our ego sort of goes, and we've got this connection, whatever it is before us, and there's no separation. We are with it. That experience, that is almost like the white lights. We're with reality when this happens. We're not making stuff up. We're not closed in like that. We've sort of opened out, and we become one with the experience of what we are experiencing. Sometimes that can all sound a bit trite. You just say, all you have to do is just do this, and you become enlightened. But sometimes it's good to go with things which you find naturally beautiful, and just try and be with those things. I recently was on a solitary retreat, and I got to the retreat, and there was a huge sense of relief that I didn't have to think anymore. I could just be in the nature of the stuff. And I went for a bush walk, and there was this absolutely beautiful spot. It was incredible. It was in the small north-facing cave. So it was that, and it was raining slightly, so you could see all these vistas of rain going back through the landscape. And there was a little creek going down it, ran into the Georges River, and a frog chorus, and all these little birds all flying around in trees and cockatoos. And to me, that is just some kind of, that is just like paradise. I just go, oh, that just is like the most amazing thing you could ever want. When you're here at work and you're working away and you go, oh, why do I have to work? I love to be in the bush. And there I was there with it, with this experience. But I could still feel myself wanting to go and do something else, like look at my phone or run off and look at some other bit of the bush. But I was aware. I was aware that I was looking at the white light after reading this book, and I was going, just be with this experience. Just let yourself just be there with what you truly feel at home. It was like being at home with this experience. And I just, just calmly, no, stay here. But just stay with the experience for an hour in the bush. And it's a meaningful experience. It's something I'll probably forget, but I'll always remember this experience of saying no to the dull lights and being able to just be with this beautiful experience of pure. Of, it's probably not the same as the one when you die, but it's still an experience of joy, beauty, and feeling like I can be with these. My experience is about being with your experience. That is the bright light. And once you realise that, you can start trying to do with all these experiences. I mean, now I'm trying. I feel there's an experience going on here that's talking to you. It's just there's this level of I can close up and get terrified at having to talk to later people, or I can allow just the feeling of we're all friends here. Let's all just relax. And then another bardo, moving on, the bardo of dreams. This is obviously the intermediate state between going to sleep and waking up. Sangharakshita says it's very important to get to understand your dreams. To give surgery, you can get great insights and teachings within them. You can even, for example, meet the Buddha if you were lucky enough, or even gain enlightenment in your dreams. It's good to be able to make a dream journal so you can get a flavour of how your dreams go and try and remember more of them. In Tibet, the monks would train to actually have agency in their dreams, so they could decide what they're going to do. We call that lucid dreaming. Some of you may have experienced lucid dreaming. This is where you have control of your dreams, meaning you can meditate in your dreams, or if you're not enjoying it, or if you're finding it it's a bit pointless and neurotic, you can meditate or do something else. And you also get to experience more of your vast subconscious, because a lot of your subconscious plays out through your dreams. And there's a bardo of meditation. It's probably the bardo of meditation would be the moment when you become concentrated. If you come home from work and your mind's really busy and you've got all this chatter going on in your head, and you can't really concentrate, eventually that chatter will die down. And once you become more concentrated, that's what would be considered the bardo. And again, turn towards the beauty of your meditation. Try not to sort of be scratching all your itches all the time, or thinking about, or mithering around your sore legs and things like that. Just try and get into the beautiful experiences which may arise in a few people have said that meditation is like practicing in head. And you're shutting down all the senses. If you have a good meditation, then your senses will be on a very low level. And there will be something subtle going on with the subtle mind, the one mind experience. So one of the things, one things we can be more aware of is that many things in life, we often in bardos all the time in other ways. You can say all kinds of things, eating food, being sick. There's these always transitionary periods where the whole of it is a transitionary period. Now, this is like a bardo giving a talk, and you're in the bardo listening to a talk. Yeah, and you know, it's about being with whatever it is you're doing. We've got the bardo of the weekends. We're all not weekend bardo at the moment. Most of us, apart from people who are lucky enough to be retired or so rich they don't have to work. But then they're in the bardo being retired. The bardo feeling sad, bardo feeling happy. These are all transitionary states, and they all are an emanation of our mind. The other thing is that they blend together and they all influence each other. That's why it's so important, you know, for us to be meditating and maybe even getting more familiar with our dreams, and you know, having good ethics in life and being caring and things. Always thinking they're all sort of blending into each other, including the bardo of going to death, the bardo of reality, the bardo of rebirth. It's all plays into each other. And what I do is this idea of the luminous mind, that we understand, we try and have this idea that we are our minds. This is a universe, a mind. The universe is a mind. We're minds within that universe. We're not separate from it. So our mind, in a way, is luminous. We just don't realize it. This is stated again and again in Tibetan. So for me, that makes me feel like I can be very positive about things. It's even in dark times, I know that I'm deluded, but I just need to, you know, that this thing will be passing, and to be working with difficulty. This is all the luminous mind. The book constantly extols us not to be distracted, to be concentrated, and to be lovingly aware. And this is the mindfulness thing. Always try and be with your experience. Don't try not to be adding to it, just trying to be with it. Just listen to people talk, watching, just being with the experience and taking delight. So although it's called the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it could also be called the Tibetan Book of Life. Thank you.